Hi, I'm D. I review rums, and this is 1833. I think I need a new intro for these coffee morning sessions. A little different way to start the program. Anyway, how's it going? Morning. It's another early Saturday morning. Today I'm having a coffee with Compagne de Un. Can you see that? Is that focusing nicely? No, it's not really focused. This is the 14-year-old Florida one. I will link a card to the review. I reviewed this a couple of years ago now. Anyway, yeah, so another topic I want to talk to you guys about. Actually, it was a close one. There's two things I wanted to talk about this week. So, first thing I had in mind was the Grenfell Tower report that came out this week. I think it came out on Wednesday, and then Thursday. Was it Thursday or Friday? Thursday. There was a shooting in Georgia, in America. So I was like, well, which one did I talk about? But I'm going to stick with Grenfell because I got some thoughts on that. And I think there are some similarities between Grenfell and sort of shooting crisis, the gun sort of crisis that America seems to have. So for those who don't know what happened about Grenfell, and forgive me for not having all the facts in front of me, I should have had, I'm just going from what I remember. But in 2017, there's a fire in a, best described as a block of flats, tower block in Kensington, borough of Kensington and Chelsea. For those who don't know, Kensington and Chelsea is real upmarket part of London. It's on the Monopoly board. The best way to describe it is on the Monopoly board. I think Kensington and Chelsea, I think they're on it, and if they are on it, I think they're on the purple. I think Kensington and Chelsea and then Mayfair are the two purple properties, and if they're not, that's where they would be. Chelsea is very affluent, tens of million pounds worth of houses. So houses that cost tens of millions of pounds exist in that area. So this tower block was there, and the local council decided basically the building was an eyesore, wasn't pretty enough, and put this cladding on it. So this is basically a cover over the facade of the building to make it look nicer. They would then later argue that it was also to improve heating in the building as well. It may or may not have done that as well. Now I'm gonna link to. So I'm going to send a link in this to the Guardian podcast episode that goes through the timeline of all the things that happened up to Grenfell. It's about a half hour or so. And it goes in a lot of detail. It tells you a lot of the milestones that happened and the failures in government, the failures in manufacturing, the failures in local government. It just goes step by step, key milestones what happened. But I'm going to go into that, those bits. I was going to, basically what happened is the report came out, and the judge who did the report basically said that every one of the 72 people that died that evening, and let me sort of just preface it, so a lot of people won't know. So people in the UK know the story, probably know a bit more. People know. So a fire started on the fourth floor of this building at around midnight, and they said it took about 25-30 minutes for it to, the whole building from the fourth floor to 24th floor to be completely engulfed. Now I don't know what it is like in our countries, but in the UK, when buildings are built, flats are built, they're kind of designed so that the fire is contained within one unit, and it's not designed to spread easily. But this cladding thing on the side of the building meant that the whole fire spread really quickly. And you can see that. So there's been other fires around, and it hasn't spread in the same way. But I'll come back to that in a second. My mind is all over this because there are so many directions you can take this conversation. But I think the key thing I want to really ask is, there's reports come out, it's detailed all the failings, 1,700 pages worth of reports. So it's not 7 years of a report, 1,700 pages. I don't even know how many words. I don't think I've heard how many words in this report, but 1,700 pages gives you an understanding of how big this report is. And I'm going to ask a question, to what end? What for, so what? And I mean no disrespect to anybody who's lost their life, lost loved ones, been affected by the fire. But I must ask this question, so what? To what end? Because it's an important question to ask. And it's an important question to ask because a tragedy of this nature, it's not the first time something like this has happened where there's been a travesty of justice. Not the first time something's happened where lack of leadership, people cutting corners, people not following the rules, red tape being unwound. That's a key phrase that comes up a lot in the report. Where all these things, where people fail to listen to serious complaints, where people's complaints are fobbed off. It's not the first time it's happened. I think Hillsborough happened in my lifetime, but in my lifetime, stories I really can really think about and clear out of my mind. There was a Hillsborough disaster that happened in the late 80s. Hundreds of people were killed in that. It was a football crush in Nottingham. That came out for decades, 20, 30 years. The fans were blamed for what happened, and then the truth came out eventually that it was the police mishandled it. And you had the police working in cahoots with the papers to blame the people, the Liverpool fans. And I'll miss things out. So this is just going on top of my mind. So don't at me about anything. More recently, they've had the post office scandal where hundreds of postmasters were sent to prison, fined, made bankrupt, lost their homes, people took their life because of stress. And in that, you had postmasters saying, hang on, it's not us, this computer system's not right, it's not right, it's not working properly. You had people in the company Horizon Fujitsu, hiding what's happened, hiding the fact they know something's wrong. You had senior management, sweep things under the carpet. You've had the Windrush saga, where people came over to the UK from the Caribbean in the 50s and 60s. They didn't have it all need a passport back then because the British citizens, things were different back then. The game of children, what have you, they settled in the UK. Back then you could travel on your parents' passport. My first passport, I was on my mother's passport. Didn't have to have a passport for babies in the past. So people would come over, so they had no real documents. They went to school, worked, and then suddenly the government said, you know what, if you don't have papers, you got to go. Theresa May said she wanted to create a hostile environment. So you then had all these people that are in their 50s, 40s, who've not lived anywhere. They maybe came over from the Caribbean when they're 2 or 3. Only thing they know is UK life and being deported. Can't work because they can't prove their right to work. If they're in social housing or if they didn't own their homes, they had to get kicked out because they couldn't prove they lived here. Sent back to a country they've never been to, or only been to once when they were younger. People warned about it, and it still happened. You got people that are still out in parts of the Caribbean never seen before, but they're there now, can't come back and not been looked after. So my question of what's the point, to what end, is based around the fact that it's not the first time it's happened, and no one is going to be held accountable. You've had the banking crisis. So ultimately, if anybody is held accountable, it will be people that are very junior level. The people that are decision makers and what have you, who put these rules in place, the politicians who ignored advice, the business company owners who constructed these things, one of the companies knew about, two of the companies knew about the failures of their insulation and cladding, that it was highly flammable, and there's email reports saying, basically, bury this, don't talk about it, bury this news, sell it anyway, don't mention it again. And the people who made the decisions are not going to be the ones going to be held accountable. Ultimately, nobody's going to be hurt financially in a significant way, and nobody senior enough is going to be going to prison. So what is the point of the report? The report, the police have said they can't, the report was taken 7 years, was run by a judge. I don't know if he's still acting judge, but he definitely is or was a judge. The police said they can't start their investigations until the judge is finished. Why not? It's all the same evidence. So the police said they can't just start, they're only going to start the investigations now. It may take up to 18 months. And then before they pass it on to the Crown Prosecution Service, who then decide whether there's charges that can be passed on to anybody. So at best, well, we're 2024, at best, nobody will be going to prison. If someone goes to prison, nobody will be going to prison until early 2030s. If somebody goes to prison. So I ask, to what end? What's the point? I don't believe the families, people close to anyone impacted by the fire is satisfied with just the report. Because the report just explains how what's happened. And that's good. And I guess that gives a degree of closure, because it lists all entities, the fire brigade, everyone involved. And I guess it gives a little bit of closure to some degree. But I don't think that anyone's really satisfied, because no one has been brought to justice. And I honestly don't believe anyone really culpable will be brought to justice. So you're probably thinking, why, D? Why are you so pessimistic? Why are you saying nothing's going to change? It's because ultimately, the reasons why all those warnings were ignored, and the reasons why nothing will change is because of money. It costs money, and it's also the reason why there are still thousands of homes today in the UK with that dangerous cladding on it, that dangerous insulation in it, that still have it on today, which is not taken down. And it's because of money. Money was the reasons why those things are put on it. They were cheap. It was cheaper. So from the perspective of the buyer, it was cheaper. From the perspective of the seller, we could sell it and make a profit. Whatever happens afterwards is not our problem. From the perspective of why it still exists in buildings now, because it's too bloody expensive to remove it. Nobody wants to pay for it. You have people in homes today who can't mortgage their homes because the homes are worth nothing. You can't insure the home because the liability is too high. You can't sell the home because nobody wants to mortgage it because the liability is too high. Some of these people have to have 24-hour warden, so living in these apartment blocks becomes expensive because someone's got to pay for that. Nobody wants to take it down, because I don't know if I said that already, but nobody takes it down, it's expensive, and no one wants to put anything up instead of, because that's expensive. That's money. The people who are senior enough not to be impacted by this also have money. Money buys you power. Money buys you very good solicitors. Money buys you very good lawyers. Money buys you a very good legal team. And all what happened is you tie it up in legal costs. You spend tens of millions of pounds, and the state says, it's just, we can't fight this anymore. Or you get you some sort of technicality and you pay a fine and walk away. So back to my question, to what end? What's the point? Is anything going to change? And I don't think so. The only time the only way this changes at pace. So I'm not so the report also had recommendations. And again, I don't believe that those recommendations will be I think it was 14 top of my head. Let's say 14. Let's say there was 14 recommendations. I don't believe all 14 recommendations from the report will be enacted in full. What the government will do is they'll enact some in full, maybe a handful, small amount in full, the ones that are most inconsequential. There'll be others where they'll tinker around the edges and do a diet coke version of that, and others they won't do anything to. And even that will take some time. I don't imagine that's going to change overnight. What I've noticed on my short time on this earth is when it comes to things like this, real political change, real changes in law, nothing really changes unless it impacts the people in power. The people with money. People have the residents have said this many times. Many reporters have said this. I think I heard Jeremy Corbyn say something recently as well. And it basically said, if this was not a local council tower block or local council run tower block, if this was a tower block with millionaires where people are paying rents of £5,000-6,000 a month. When the residents were complaining about, had raised their safety concerns about, fire doors not working, that sort of thing, those problems would have been addressed. Linked back to money. The point is this: until somebody with significant money and power is impacted by something like this, the changes won't take place in any real way. And that is my view on any real major changes to any parts of law. Unless somebody with power and or money is impacted, it's never going to change. And that's very sad. I feel sad for everyone that's affected by this, whether you're in Grenfell or on a property where you just stuck, where you're in a property where every night you go to bed thinking, damn, if a fire takes place here, I'm in trouble. We're in trouble. We may not survive. That can't be easy. I guess you could try to not think about it, but that's got to be hard. And I feel sad for you and I feel sorry for you because I don't see your condition changing anytime soon.